Hello again and welcome. My name's Chris Gibbons. I edit Gibbs magazine. Acumen, one of our regular features in Acumen, is a column called The Dissenter, and it's written by our next guest, who is Dr. Raj Raina, visiting lecturer here at Gibbs. The Dissenter is a piece of writing in which Raj takes aim at some of business's most cherished myths. But this time, it's the SWOT analysis. Raj, welcome. You're saying it's time to SWOT the SWOT? But before we get to why, let me just ask you to outline exactly what do we mean when we say SWOT.
SWOT was one of probably the oldest frameworks used for strategic analysis. And its origins are a bit nebulous. But I think the first time it was written in one of the first books on strategy, which was written by people at Harvard, including Roland Christensen and Kenneth Andrews. And in its core, it has remained the same. And it is still forms the core of textbooks on management, on strategy, and still forms the core of strategy modules in MBA courses and in executive courses. In essence, what it said is that SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It said you should do a situational analysis of a business, identify your strengths and weaknesses, and identify your opportunities and threats. And then you match your strengths to opportunities, and you do something to fix your weaknesses, and then you fix the goal. So that was the kind of four-step process to kind of developing your strategy. So that is in a sense what SWOT framework was and even today is. And it's deceptively simple to use and easy to use, and it is used in practically many organizations. But coming to the second issue, why I think it's time to SWOT is that it's not because the rate of change has increased that it has become obsolete or irrelevant. It is not only because globalization has increased complexity in the business world that it has become irrelevant. It is those things have only revealed more holes in this framework. But at a conceptual level, the framework is flawed for meaningful strategic analysis. So we'll go into details of each of these elements why this is a flawed and irrelevant framework.
Well, let's talk about it then, because strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, it sounds intuitive, it sounds simple. I've done many SWOT analysis. I'm sure you have as well in your time. Where do the problems lie?
Let's go to a simple issue. Okay, so if you say the framework is all about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the first thing you want to do is define what is a strength. Now, if you look at huge number of textbooks, including the original textbook and current textbooks, they never attempt to define these terms. What is a strength? The problem with this is that you cannot define a strength independent of the context. So you're kind of caught up that the strength is meaningful only in a particular context. And similarly, other terms are meaningful in a particular context.
Can you give me an example?
For example, Encyclopedia Britannica. And its strengths were, if you look at practically, were its ability to print these nice, sexy volumes, which are properly edited, nicely bound, on nice paper. And it invested huge amount of resources over a good 40, 50 years in this, okay? Then internet comes, digital world arrives, and all those strengths become liabilities, and it became history. Let's come to more contemporary times, and you see in recent times, suddenly what you're holding in your hand, tablet sales are outrunning the sales of laptops and desktops. And for the first time, Microsoft is going to see declining revenues in its traditional core investments in operating systems and Windows platform. And if this trend accentuates, all those strengths have become suddenly weaknesses. So they're very context specific. Let's take another example. Take the example of when Coke went into India, okay? And it had its brand. We have this Coca-Cola brand. And it acquired actually a local company which had a brand called Thumbs Up, and just to kill the local competition, okay? And launched Coca-Cola, right? And it made losses, huge amount of losses, okay? For good 5 years. In desperation, they took this Thumbs Up brand again, and they again they tried to replicate the distribution model which they had perfected in America and many countries, and tried to use it in India, but they found that their sales were flat. They're not growing in volumes. So they had to go back to the drawing board in terms of rethink distribution. So when they relaunched Thumbs Up and rethought distribution and built it from bottom up, which was basically building new competencies, new strengths, aligned to the context, they finally started getting some traction. So I'm giving you varied examples that how strengths and weaknesses are linked to the context in which you are placed.
All right, so if we take that point then that it's time to SWOT the SWOT, what do we put in its place?
Let me just get into where the issues are with the SWOT analysis and where it's applicable.
We need to move on because time is against us.
Okay.
If we take it out, what do we put in its place?
My sense is that the starting point of any business is a deep immersion of the context in which you are, and that is the starting point. Okay. What do you see in the context and identification of opportunities? Okay, that is to me the starting point. Okay, I do have a very simple framework which I have evolved over a period of time, and which basically is a stepwise guide to developing your strategy design, and which talks about starting with analyzing your context, identifying critical trends. Based on trends, identifying critical opportunities. Opportunities are revenue generating streams, and based on opportunities, identifying the positioning, why people should buy from you and not from others. And then it goes on to ensuring a certain amount of alignment across above three elements. And then it goes on to identifying critical competencies which will help you sustain your positioning in the marketplace. And the last one is what are the meaningful goals you want to have based on the above analysis. So it kind of, the acronym TOPAC-G captures it nicely, and you can have different TOPAC-G elements for different contexts. So these elements also form the content. Not only this is a process for strategizing, but these elements also form the content of strategy. So if you give me a strategy one page on any company, if you give me elements of the TOPAC-G in one page, I'll be more than comfortable to say whether this is going to work or not.
And there you have it from Raj Raina, the man who swatted SWOT. Raj, thank you.
Thanks.